Shirley flew away to join a once-in-a-lifetime cruise around the Caribbean. Well, the holiday was absolutely fantastic. And since she wanted to prolong the magic, she paid an extra £645 to upgrade to business class on the flight home. Of course, anybody that's ever flown business class will know that one of the main perks is that you get a fully reclining seat, so you can sleep, hopefully. Well, she was enjoying the flight, but as it was an overnight flight, she decided to recline her seat and try and get a bit of shut-eye. Trouble is, when she pressed the button, the recliner seat refused to recline.
I pressed the recline button, and again, I pressed the recline company, and nothing happened.
Oh, no.
So I looked at the instructions and everything, and no, I was pressing the right button, and it was illuminated. So the other people, of course, were, snoozing or the lights had gone down.
Yes.
So I went and found a gentleman. They spent a long time trying to get the seat to move, but it would not even recline the slightest little bit. Well, I felt a bit like a hedgehog trying to curl up into
in the
one
fetal
of their seats.
Position.
Yes.
Well, Shirley's not a baby. She's 81. And to endure an entire night flight without being able to lie back and to sleep, particularly when you paid all that extra money to do so, was utterly miserable. When she got home, she complained to the airline, and eventually she understood that the offer on the table from them would be £50 in British Airways e-vouchers, or the equivalent Avios points. Well, Shirley didn't think this offer was reasonable because she doesn't want to fly again, certainly not on a long-haul flight, so she really didn't feel that the vouchers were going to be of any use to her, which is why she came to me for help. She's now back on the JVS show. Good morning to you, Shirley.
Morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. Right, now, for anyone who hasn't heard the case before, when I spoke to you on the programme, Shirley, I suggested that to have a reclining chair is perhaps one of the most important aspects of a business class flight. It's certainly what I would be paying the extra money for if I wanted to upgrade to business class. And as far as I was concerned, since BA hadn't been able to provide this, I really felt it was reasonable for you to be given a sensible proportion of your money back that you'd paid them. So, you asked exactly for that, and after a further conversation with customer services, at first you were under the impression that you'd be receiving an offer that would include £400 in cash. However, I recall you didn't actually ever get that offer in writing, and when you sought clarification as to how this money would be made available to you, British Airways then said, oh, no, it's not in cash. It will be in e-vouchers, or the equivalent in Avios points. And again, you're not interested in receiving those. And since then, BA have denied that you were ever going to be offered cash rather than e-vouchers. Well, I know we approached British Airways asking for their reaction to your complaint and a clarification of exactly what offer would be made. Tim has been speaking to them. He can hopefully bring us up to speed on their latest position. What's going on, Tim?
Well, if you remember, Jonathan, when we went to BA, they said that they wanted every customer who flies with them to have a fantastic experience, and they were always disappointed to hear when something goes wrong and flights fall below their usual high standards. But they wanted to point out that purchasing this World Club ticket, it isn't just about the seat. It entitles customers to an additional baggage allowance, use of a dedicated check-in area, fast-track security access, use of their lounges, which offer free food and drinks, plus free spa treatments and massages for customers flying from Heathrow to or from New York, priority boarding, fine dining, 3-course meals with a range of different options, a great range of fine wines and spirits, bed linen, and much more personal space to rest, read a range of complimentary publications, or watch their in-flight entertainment system on their 10.4-inch flat-screen television. Now, we reported this back on the programme, and we got a huge response from listeners, Jonathan. We had text from, just to read a selection here, text I did indeed send to BA. Rob said that Shirley should get all her money back from BA because they didn't fulfil their contract. Hillary said if you book a business class seat, you expect all elements to be provided. I would expect a full rebate for a miserable flight. Kay said £400 in vouchers. This was an insult. BA had a moral and ethical duty to pay Shirley back. And the text continued on a very similar theme. scheme. And as I say, I fed these back to BA, and it didn't change their position. Their final word on the matter, as we stand today, is that what's on the table is either £400 in e-vouchers or the equivalent Avios points, which is in fact 80,000 Avios points. Now, they say that these points could be used to book flights with other airlines within the scheme other than BA. And this would afford a couple of short-haul flights, a long-haul flight to the Caribbean, or they could be spent on hotels, car rentals, experiences, wine. Basically, they say this would give Shirley plenty of options if she didn't want to actually use this to fly with BA. That's where they stand, but I know, Jonathan, of course, Shirley was not happy with anything less than some money back.
No, absolutely. You didn't want vouchers, you wanted your money back. And as I've always seen this, Shirley, I consider this as a case of British Airways were not able to fulfil the contract that you'd entered into with them. For me personally, and I sense from the reaction we've had from most JVS show listeners, most people are in agreement that the fundamental, the primary purpose of paying extra money to upgrade to business class is to have a much more comfortable seat. If you're going on a long-haul flight, there is a huge difference between sitting in an economy seat and sitting in a business class seat. The main difference being that when they turn the lights off, you can recline your seat fully, it becomes a flat bed, and you can then get a night's sleep. And that fundamental part of the contract they had not fulfilled for you. Now, you wanted your money back. We consulted with a friend of this programme, Nick Freeman, a celebrity lawyer known as Mr. Loophole. I know he was in absolute agreement that that was what you should be doing. You should be writing a letter to them and requesting full reimbursement of the extra money that you'd paid to upgrade to business class. That was the last that we kind of heard from you. You were going off to get that letter sent off to them. I know, Shirley, you've had some communication with them. What's the latest, Shirley, from your end?
Well, it hasn't really changed. I did write and put in that unless I got a response, then that I was left no option but to take them to the small claims court. And I got no response at all. So I did put in I started the procedure of taking them to the small claims court. That moved along slowly, but they were given till April, I haven't got the date in front of me, but I think it was April the 5th.
The date doesn't matter. What did they say?
At that time. If not, then I had the choice of accepting the judgment from the court, which is what I did. They didn't respond, and I got a letter from the court saying that they were telling the defendant they got to pay me the whole amount. But then, again, almost immediately, I got another letter from them to say that it had been cancelled because the original notice of the
judgment, had been set aside,
mislaid, and therefore it was April the 12th, and therefore they had extra time, and they then sent in a defence, which I received.
Okay, so they've now put in the defence, and what's the latest situation with the court?
Well, the defence was absolute rubbish. It kept quoting a particular contract that they had with Montreal and airliners, saying that under this there was no contract with me to provide what I had said. And there were other points in it, which one was that they wanted the particulars of the £645. Well, the £645 was the amount I paid.
Now, I gather they have made an increased offer, although it's still not a satisfactory offer. What's the latest offer that they've come back to you with?
The increased offer comes from British Airways that you have been in contact with and I was in contact with. But the legal department doesn't come from West Drayton. The legal department is Hamburg.
Shirley, just tell me what the latest offer is, if you would, please, and then we'll find out what you're going to do.
There isn't one. There isn't one from the.
I thought, Tim, there was another offer on the table from British Airways.
What we have, Jonathan, is British Airways have said that Shirley could still have the offer on the table, which was £400 in e-vouchers or the 80,000 Avios points.
But she doesn't want that.
But the situation with the courts is that they have put in this defence, as Shirley said. In the defence, Shirley referred to the Montreal Convention. This is the British Airways defence that they had provided her with carriage from one place to another, and that was what their obligation was as an airline. They are arguing that this issue of the seat isn't actually a vital part of this case. And so really Shirley has an option from the court to now go to mediation. That's where she stands today. She can go to mediation, which may or may not include BA, depending on how they respond, or accept the offer that she's received.
So hang on a minute. They're suggesting that under this Montreal Convention, everybody... So if I pay for an economy seat, I can just go and sit in a business class seat, can I? Because all actually they have to do is fly me from A to B.
This appears to be the point of contention. Shirley's obviously not happy with this. And so this is why, Jonathan, we were keen at this point to bring back into the conversation lawyer Nick Freeman, who's very kindly joined us again on the programme today, to really suggest what Shirley can do next. OK, Nick, good morning to you. Thanks for coming back on.
Jonathan.
So they're now suggesting this mediation, and it doesn't appear that they really have improved their offer at all. What do you think Shirley should do next?
I think she should go to mediation, which I understand is tomorrow. If she doesn't go, I anticipate a sensible offer will be made tomorrow. I hope VA come to their senses at the 11th hour, and I hope that an offer is made tomorrow. And if it is a reasonable offer, surely should give very careful consideration to accepting it, because of course, if for example, and I'm not going to refer to an amount, an offer is made and she doesn't accept it, and we then go on to a hearing. There may be an adverse implication in terms of costs, even if she still wins the case, because, of course, she'll have been offered that amount at the mediation tomorrow. She rejects it. She then goes to small claims hearing, and if the offer isn't in excess of the offer, if the award isn't in excess of the offer that's made at mediation, there may be an award of costs against Shirley, which she doesn't want. So she should go to mediation. BA should also be there, and hopefully a sensible solution should be reached. The whole purpose of mediation is to try and avoid court proceedings and court costs. Shirley needs to check. I don't know whether she's been advised, but sometimes there are costs involved in mediation. If she hasn't been advised that there are costs that will fall to her, then she's okay to go. So my advice is she should do that. She doesn't have to accept what's being offered, if anything is indeed offered. She needs to have a cash offer, not something that's not acceptable to her in terms of an alternative, because she's made it clear she doesn't want to fly and she wants cash. She's entitled. She's paid cash. She should have cash back. And I can't really understand BA's intransigence in relation to this. There's obviously media interests which will only increase if this goes the wrong way for BA, and at a time when there's massive competition, BA really should put this matter to bed in a proper and decent way, do the right thing, and recompense her, in my view, fully for the aggravation that she's had. Because, of course, she would be entitled to claim not just for the loss of the price of the ticket, but also the compensation for the, if you like, the emotional upset and discomfort she's had from having to sit upright in a seat when she was expecting to be able to lie down. And I agree with you, Jonathan. I think that the seat is a fundamental condition of this contract. And had it not been for that, then she would not have spent all this money on upgrading to business class.
Well, and to be absolutely honest with you, this justification using the Montreal Convention that all British Airways have to do as per the contract is fly you from A to B, then surely if you follow that through to its logical conclusion, you can book an economy seat and just go and help yourself to a first class seat.
Or conversely, Jonathan, you pay £5,000 for a first-class seat and they'll be told, yes, but all we need to do is convey you there. Please sit in this economy seat, sir.
Quite. I mean, it's absolutely farcical.
There is a contract, and in my view, BA are in breach of that contract because of the fundamental nature of the condition of the seat, which, of course, should have been checked before the aircraft took off. And I don't know why it hasn't. And what is also of concern, and Shirley needs to mention this, if this case, she should mention this tomorrow, is that she was initially offered, I think you said £400 in cash. She needs to make it clear, because once that offer is made, I know she didn't accept it, but it is still, it is relevant, and it does have a probative value.
Yes, the only
legally binding value.
The only problem is the offer was not made in writing. The offer was made verbally, apparently, and there's nothing to substantiate that now. And the airlines say no, it was always a misunderstanding. It was never supposed to be cash. It was always e-vouchers.
Well, that may be a credibility point, but I'm sure Shirley understands the difference between e-vouchers and cash. And if someone has mistakenly made an offer of cash, then that is something, again, that the court should take into account. This appears to be a French farce because BA are messing up. The court seems to have not married up the right papers with this particular case. And at the end of the day, the victim is Shirley. She's the lady who's suffering, and all she's done is paid for a service that hasn't been provided.
So just to kind of draw a conclusion to all of this then, so she needs to accept the mediation, she needs to go along to the mediation, she needs to see what offer they make. If they make a fair and reasonable offer, i.e. the full reimbursement of the extra money that she paid to upgrade to business class in cash, then she should be prepared to accept that. If they make a substandard offer during that mediation, then at that point she rejects it and says, no, I'd rather this goes to a judgment then.
Well, I would say, Jonathan, and this is obviously a matter for Shirley, but I would say, and I don't know whether BA are listening.
They are listening, apparently.
They are listening. Well, I'm reluctant to make a suggestion of an offer on air.
Okay, well, we can do that off air.
Okay, because in my view, she's entitled to full recompense. But possibly you and I can have a conversation. I can have a conversation with Tim off air.
Let's do that off air, and we'll see what the suggestion is. And as long as it is over that threshold, then maybe she accepts. If not, then she might as well go to the full hearing. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Nick, as always, I want to thank you very much indeed for your assistance with this case. You've been invaluable for us, so thank you very much indeed. Shirley.
Thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Nick Freeman, lawyer known as Mr. Loophole. Shirley, we will obviously